Okay, let's look at our 3 needle bind off. This is a bind off method for knitting that you're going to see probably most commonly in sweaters when you finish the shoulders, where you would join the shoulder seams from the inside using this 3 needle bind off, as opposed to doing a bind off of each piece and then joining them separately through grafting methods. Or working a seam from the outside of the work. This method combines the 2 pieces from the inside and is not visible on the outside of the work, and it creates a very sturdy shoulder, which is why it's common for that part. You may also find it used to join the insides of a hood, at the top of a hood from the inside, or other places where you want to join 2 pieces quite firmly. And want to see it on the inside of the work, not on the outside. And like the name suggests, we're going to use 3 needles. I've got my working fabric here on divided between 2 needles. This mimics as if I had 2 separate pieces of a shoulder, the front and the back of a sweater, for example. And the key here is that I've got the same number of stitches on each needle. So that means that each of these stitches has a partner on the other needle, and I'm going to be joining 1 stitch to its partner all the way down the line. So I'm going to make sure these are lined up together. I'm going to take my 3rd needle and I'm going to insert it knitwise through the first stitch on that first needle. I'm going to do the same thing on the back needle, and then I'm going to wrap my stitch, wrap my yarn around that 3rd needle as though it's a normal knit stitch and pull it through. That part can be a little bit tricky. And then let those stitches come off. So I've just done the first step. And then I'm going to do the 2nd stitch on each needle in that same way, putting the needle through both stitches at the same time. I'm going to wrap it again, pull the stitch through, let those 2 stitches fall off, and then I'm going to pull that first stitch over the 2nd stitch as though I'm binding off regularly. There we go. So I've just bound off 1 stitch from each piece of the fabric. And I'm going to repeat those last 2 steps all the way until I've finished all of the steps, or all the stitches. So I'm going to go again, my needle through both stitches, knitwise. I'm going to wrap my yarn, pull my stitch off, and then pull that first stitch over the 2nd. And this gets a little bit easier as you go on. The first couple stitches in the set are likely to be the most snug because they're closest to the edge and therefore most likely to have had some pulling and yanking on them. The ones in the middle are going to be a little bit more comfortable usually. So I'm just going to keep doing that all the way across. And this is, again, it's quite firm. It's very similar to the traditional bind off. The main difference is that in the first step, instead of knitting a stitch, we're knitting 2 stitches together. So we've just got a few more here. And there's my last 2 right there. So now I'm going to drop one of those needles, use the last one, pull that final stitch over, and then that last stitch I can draw through and break that cut it as I normally would for final bind off. So there you go. So from the inside, it looks very, very even. It's pretty firm. And then from the outside of the work, it looks like two very neatly joined pieces of fabric. You can't even tell that the bind off is there on the inside of the work, which is what you want. So there you go, knitters. That is our 3 needle bind off.